thumbnail to.
We're live now.
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, I'm sleepy.
I know. I got a monster. I'm ready to wake up.
Let's see.
Oh wait, did I even edit that? Now it's in. All right. Now let's announce that we're up.
You want to talk NFL coaching stuff?
Yeah. We can talk about what's next for the Commanders. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Sorry. All right. Now I'm ready. Show on the road in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Wise Guys podcast. I am your host, Brady Fitzgerald, joined as always by my co-host, Chris Hagan.
How you guys doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, Chris. I'm exhausted. I feel like these past 2 days have been felt like 4. I don't know about you, but it's felt like these.
I had a slow start to the week.
Yeah,
Say that.
it was
I
a
think
long
it
Monday
might be like the
yesterday.
hangover of like just watching sports all weekend. Honestly, I didn't really do much else. And you get to Monday, and it's tough. It's tough to rebound from that. Honestly.
But we made it. We made it to Tuesday. We're back on a Tuesday. We haven't been on a Tuesday in a while because we've had a couple South Carolina home games I've had to attend. So luckily I don't. There's none. We're playing at Tennessee this week. That in the College Corner, and then we're back to Wednesday next week. We got Old Miss coming to town. So
We have a Tuesday game too, so that works out perfectly.
perfect. But today we're gonna start off with the NFC and AFC championship games. We're gonna review our wise picks. The main picks went 1-1. I mean, 2 games, we'll take it. We could have
You're
had
pretty close on the second one too.
I was gonna say we could have had the second one multiple times.
It's garbage time.
Yeah, it was garbage time cover, which is funny because there should have been no business of them covering at all. But
yes, right.
I guess we'll get to that soon. We'll start with the AFC Championship game, chronological order. It was all this. I don't know. It felt like with all the Ravens fans that you and I both know, all the people that we know online, and it just seemed like this accumulation of hype and just like a little bit of nervousness. It seemed like in the back. It was a lot of overcompensating before the game. Just like remember how good.
And
this
then fights
team
on
is.
Twitter, hype videos.
Yep. And it boiled down into this utter collapse of the Baltimore Ravens that I mean when we were talking about the Ravens going into the postseason, we said that they had to overcome exactly games like this. And in the biggest game of the season, they completely threw away their whole game plan they've used successfully all year. They got down in the first, and or down in the second. And after they got down, they lost complete control of their own game plan. It was honestly that second half shouldn't have even been played. The Ravens looked like they wanted the game to be over at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, though, they didn't give up a single point in the second half. So it felt like a game where they had so many things that went wrong in the first half, and to still only be down 10 going into halftime, that they had a real shot in this game if their defense could hold down the fort, which they did. Because it looked like after the first two drives that they were going to lose the game because they couldn't stop Mahomes. And no one can. So it's like if you're going to go down like that, then, what do you do other than just tip your cap? But they made adjustments it was after the first two drives because they got the stop on fourth down.
After that stop,
The next drive,
I thought they go down here and score, and we're looking at a Ravens. Oh, it could have been a Ravens. Like that, they had the momentum harnessed right there, right in that fourth down stop, and never was able to use the power of momentum with them.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they just kept getting stops on defense, and it felt like every time they got the ball back, it was like, okay, like this is the drive where we need to go put up points. And every time something went wrong, it was either a 3-and-out or a fumble or an interception or penalties. It was just like everything that could have gone wrong on that side of the ball went wrong. But I think the heart of the issue was they ran the ball, like 6 times with their running backs?
Yeah, 6 times together with their running
It was
backs.
unbelievable.
Their rushing attack all year had, if you look at all their game logs, they averaged like over 20 carries for the running backs combined minimum every game this season, and they completely went away from that game plan. They relied on their wide receivers that we were talking about how Zay Flowers had a great game. He had that costly fumble that helped the Chiefs big time, but they don't have the other playmakers. Odell Beckham was nothing out there. Nelson Aguilar got his one catch for 40 yards.
Yeah, and then had another drop.
Yeah, and they couldn't get Likely going. They had nothing out of Mark Andrews. So I don't know why.
It was almost like Andrews was out there as a decoy.
Yeah.
I think he had at least one catch, but
he had 2, but they weren't anything big, and it didn't make a lot of sense because they weren't out of this game. They had the opportunity to run the ball the whole second half, and they just chose to never do it. And Lamar was under duress the whole time. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to like the defensive penalties that screwed them earlier. Like there was so much stuff with the Ravens completely.
This is the second game in a row where it feels like Mahomes is getting all this credit, and for 2 drives he looked like playoff Mahomes and they were unstoppable, and then it disappeared at the second half. Like they had the one drive to put the game away, but other than that, they didn't score another point. So, like the Ravens defense lived up to their hype.
Yeah,
and they came out and they bounced back when things were going horribly, and the offense was putting them in bad spots because they were giving up these long drives, and then the offense would come out and go 3-and-out, and then they're right back on the field. But they were resilient, and they bounced back, and consistently were getting stops, and it didn't matter.
The Chiefs, when you look at it, they had 3 players on offense: Mahomes, Kelsey, and Rice. Rice was barely even used. I know he had 8 catches, but he wasn't it's not like he had 100-something yards. Travis Kelsey, I think he had 11 catches by middle of the third quarter.
Yeah,
maybe. I know he had 10 at halftime.
He had 100 yards at halftime.
Yeah. So that
Some
means
of them were unbelievable too. Like the touchdown catch that he had was one of the better catches I've seen a tight end make.
mm-hmm.
And then the other one where Mahomes like had to lob it up to him on that third down and he had to go dive and make a play on it was pretty incredible too. For a guy who's looked like slow and like he wants to retire this season, I think he's fine.
These are the type of the AFC Championship, the Super Bowl, the playoff games. These are the types of games that you need. Even your older guys who are getting slow and getting like this is when the Porsche comes out of the garage. You know, there's no nothing like they're not saving Travis Kelce for anything else. This is the games that they're saving him for. And you're right, Mahomes. I mean, he as you said, Mahomes didn't have a spectacular game, but he also missed 9 passes and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get anything on the rushing attack. And
But they kept
they kept running.
Going to it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was a complete opposite of what the Ravens were doing, and it didn't make like how do you view that on the other sideline and be like, I mean, if they're running the ball at 2.8 yards a carry, and we're running at like 8 yards a carry, how about we stop running the ball?
Well, at least it's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least you don't know that they're throwing the ball every single down. And like they were getting stops on Pacheco, but like they were ready for it. They couldn't just sit back and defend the pass the whole game.
And I guess to talk about
what felt like the Chiefs could do.
I
They
like
just made Lamar's life a living hell.
I know I'm sure Ravens fans have a bunch of screenshots of pass interferences that never got called. But the shots on Mahomes, the hit by Clowney hit him right in the helmet. Like they're gonna call that 10 times out of 10. It doesn't like that one. They're calling that shit on Justin Fields. Like they're even calling that on the quarterbacks that don't get any calls. If you hit him in the helmet and the helmet moves, no matter what, they're calling the pass interference call.
Yeah, there was definitely some ref ball, but there were no. The only one that I like actually disagreed with was the Van Noy penalty. I thought that one was a little.
That's another one though. Why he's all right? Van Noy is a 2-time Super Bowl champion who's been there. Why is he getting into the huddle when Travis Kelce's talking shit and knocking heads?
I don't know.
You're asking.
I just thought that was kind of a soft call.
It was a soft call, but you're giving the NFL an excuse to favor their biggest market with the biggest celebrity in the world to throw a flag on. Like you give it like same with the taunting penalty. Call it as soft as you want. Why are you doing that?
That was not soft. That was a.
What are you doing? Like what?
That
like,
was a pretty egregious taunting. He shoved him back on the ground.
Yeah, and then stood over him. Like these are things that I'm sure at the beginning of the season, and I think Tony Romo was saying it. Like they go and they tell them like these are the things that you can and cannot do. And like I don't. They also clotheslines Mahomes. Travis Johnson, I think his name is Travis Jones.
Yeah, none of the roughing the passers I thought were bad.
Yeah, completely clotheslined him. That was a hilarious play. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's funny. It's almost like surprised that doesn't happen 3 times a game. Some guy accidentally clotheslines him, but
yeah, that was funny. The other funny one was the offsides at the end of the game that they called a personal foul just for Quan Smith. Like they were jumping off sides on purpose to give him a 1st and 10 rather than the 1st and 5.
Oh yeah,
but he just plowed the guard into the ground.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And that was just like the icing on top. It was like, man, they just could not do anything right.
That was
and
really
stuff
the
like
theme of
that
the game.
loses you, that like costs you a chance at the Super Bowl.
And the other thing, like when you're facing the Chiefs and Mahomes, who've been there, and you can give it all you want about like the reason why he's always there and the reason why he's so hard to beat is because he does not make mistakes.
Yes.
Lamar makes mistakes. He made a couple in this game. He had a fumble and an interception, and he also couldn't get anything in the passing game going. Mahomes finds a way past the good defense and the scheme and makes it work. And then the coaching staff doesn't allow, like, they didn't score a point in the second half, but it didn't matter. They knew the Ravens offense really wasn't going to get anything done. And, you know, I'm sure they didn't score points, not by design, but it wasn't a necessity. for them to score.
Yeah, I mean, if the Ravens tied this game up with 2 minutes left, and Mahomes gets the ball back, I'm sure he goes down.
Drives right down.
We've said that like this probably doesn't mean anything, but we've said this with the Chiefs before that it almost seems like they don't try until they really need to.
This was a perfect example of it.
Like in this game, they get up 2 scores, and it's like, all right, well, our defense is flying around. They're not going to put us in a bad spot. So
there's also got to be something. We got to look at teams next year in the playoffs who are the 1 seed, and the Ravens haven't been down a game in like 2 years. Like they haven't been down in a game. A lot, and won the game, and it within the past couple. Like if they get down 2 scores, which is sad because it's something we talked about earlier with like these playoff, these things that we think about Lamar, and we want to try to reverse the narrative. But then here the narrative comes again, and he gets down 2 scores, and it's complete and utter dog shit coming out of the field. Like, you can't have a game plan and then all of a sudden the game plan gets thrown away after you're down 14. Down 10. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know what the defense for it is.
I don't know either. And all the Ravens fans are worried about losing their offensive coordinator. He's staying, pal. That's like a Dan Quinn resume. Like you cancel the interviews.
That was
after
the Dan Quinn game.
Like you cancel the interviews after.
I don't think anyone's interviewing him.
I don't know. I heard
they're worried about McDonald.
Yes, which we'll get to when we talk about. There's been a little bit of coaching news. Any final thoughts on this game?
But yeah, you're right. Like about the narrative. I mean, I honestly felt bad for Lamar because I have flipped on him in the past year or so, and you're right. It's like
I don't think this game's on him though. Like I don't think specifically
it's all on him.
Yeah, I don't think
he did not play well.
No.
And you had 2 turnovers in the end zone, which, like I said it earlier, like those mistakes are things that cost you a chance at the Super Bowl. Those were the 2 plays that, like, you had them on the ropes. The Zay Flowers fumble in the end zone, like the room that I was watching in just went silent.
Yep.
After that play,
because they knew they knew they weren't going to get those mistakes. Yeah, you knew they weren't going to get those mistakes when it comes.
Yeah, those are things that it just can't happen in a game of that magnitude, and like it sucks that it did because a fumble like that, while it's a great play on defense, and you probably shouldn't have been reaching the ball out. Like those plays are kind of fluky, right?
I thought it was a touchdown until the replay. Yeah. Like I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Like this is definitely they cross the plane, and then you watch the replay,
and then you see the replay, and
it's just like, ooh, yeah.
But yeah, and things like that just kept happening. Like those were the 2 big ones, but just play after play that it's like, how are we letting these things happen in a game this big? Like they could have made half the mistakes that they did and won this game.
Because I know it's a topic that people talk about. And we didn't talk about it last week when it reared its head. Like when you fumble out of the end zone like that, that's why it's a touchback. When people always get mad, like why is it a touchback when he fumbles out of the end zone? Because when you fumble in the end zone, it's a touchback. Like why would it be any different? That was he fumbled directly in the end zone. It landed right in the end zone, and the Chiefs recovered a touchback. What's the difference between that and it going out?
Yeah. Well, because they don't recover it.
But you're giving it up.
Right, but like when there's a fumble and they review it, there has to be a clear recovery. That's why people don't like the rule. And I'm still split. Like I still can't decide if I like that rule or not. I don't hate it like some people do. And then I saw like I know you love it, but then like Matthew Berry is like, it should be the Chiefs ball at the 1. And I'm like,
yeah, how does that? What? Yeah, like what do we do? What logic are we doing here? Chiefs ball at 1?
Like that it doesn't make any sense. Like on a punt, if the ball goes into the end zone,
it's a
20, touchback.
Yeah.
If you catch it at the 1, you get it at the 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess those two plays aren't similar, but same rules for
Same
what
concept.
happens to the ball, I guess.
Oh,
And I was like, the other day I was saying like, well, any other spot on the field, if you fumble out of bounds, it's still your ball. And then somebody was like, well, it's the end zone, and the rules are different in the end zone, like for any other play. And I was like, well, that's fair. So I don't know. I don't think it's worth our time to discuss. I think we've talked about this rule before too.
yeah, I think we have.
But it didn't even happen. Like that's not what happened. They
Yeah, I
recovered the
know.
fumble.
I know.
That's why, like, when I saw people arguing about it, I was like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, no, this isn't even the same rule.
It's
Like,
not.
yeah.
It's not the
So,
play in question. Like,
no.
no one is upset except for Matthew Berry. The Chiefs got it at the 20, which I love Matthew Berry, by the way, but
Yeah, he is our king. We
not a
don't
good
want to
name.
have any disrespect.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the later game, the NFC Championship. I will say this is the first game won by in the playoffs this year, won by a starting quarterback who has thrown an interception. It's the only game.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. So
That is pretty crazy.
this
Did
game,
you know that he was the last pick in the draft?
I did know that actually. This game was highlighted by the 24-7 halftime lead by the Detroit Lions, blown almost immediately in the second half by
I
said
think it was in
Lions.
8 minutes.
Yeah, it was. So forgive me if I'm wrong. It's late in the second half they get the touchdown. And then they open up the next drive. Brock Purdy throws that interception that bounces off the guy's helmet. And then Ayuk catches and runs for a touchdown. And then boom, they're on a roll.
Right, but before that, the Lions had a 4th and 3.
Mm-hmm.
The 28-yard line of the 49ers.
I think so. Yeah.
Up 14 points and decided to go for it and didn't get it. Josh Reynolds dropped the pass.
That was the first of
That's right.
costly mistakes.
First domino to fall. Yeah. And then the Ayuk play.
Also,
which I agree with.
Before we move on from that play, I will say I hyped up Josh Reynolds way too much on the pod. I feel bad. All those drops, every time he dropped it, I was just like, man, I had to mention him on the pod. I had to say something and how I like Josh Reynolds.
Yep.
But go ahead. You were saying.
But like that, the Ayuk play is what would haunt me more than the decision.
Oh yeah.
To go for it. Because I would have kicked a field goal there, and we can debate these 4th down decisions in a minute. But that play, like, I mean, what do you like? That just sucked.
There's not.
And there were a couple fluky plays like that. The one, like the pass to use check, that like Purdy somehow didn't go down and just like flipped it up in the air, and the fullback makes like a toe tap catch on the sideline.
Oh, that was incredible.
Like it was another game where everything that could have gone wrong just started going wrong, and it started with that, like, off of the helmet, which, like, you could say that should have been a pick. It was a tough play, but, like, even if it's just an incompletion, I don't know what down it was.
The game. Yeah, I don't know what down it was,
but
it does completely change.
They had it at the 1 or 2, and then boom, touchdown. It's like, holy crap! And you could feel it. Like, if I was a Lions fan, like, you'd be able to feel it in your stomach.
You felt it watching TV. Like, you felt the air gets sucked out of the Lions team, really. And this is a great weekend for momentum. Momentum won this weekend, for sure. And the 4th down decisions that we'll get to, because we'll cover all of them in a second. But that one, that first domino of not getting the 3 points, it just built. It's like a snowball. It just built down the mountain, leading to all these things happening.
But then still, you're up 7, and then you fumble on like the second play.
Yeah, that was
after that touchdown. Like you could have put together a nice drive there, and even if you don't score points, like you took some more time off the clock, you shortened the game more. You're still up a touchdown, and like you give them not great field position. Instead, they fumbled on the first play from scrimmage, and then at that point the game was over. Like once they tied the game, it was over.
Yeah, yeah, because you knew the Niners. It was honestly the opposite of exactly what we said on Friday, because we said
Mhm.
if the Lions got up, the Niners we hadn't seen them come back from it's kind of what we thought about the Ravens, where we hadn't seen them come back after a lead, and
Right.
we didn't think that they were going to be able to do
Yeah,
it.
and everything that we said the Lions needed to do to win that game, they did.
Yeah,
And then it just completely fell apart.
They controlled the running game. Their offensive line, the first 3 series were incredible. Really just pushing back everyone, and yeah, they just couldn't keep up. Once it turned into Jared Goff has to win you the game at the end, they crumbled. And it, like, I don't
But
blame this on
it never
Goff.
should have gotten to that point.
No, it never should have gotten to that. All right, what are the other 4th down decisions? So he went for it on 4th and 3 at the Niners 23. Doesn't kick the field goal, misses.
So to set the stage, there were 7 minutes left in the third quarter, and they were up by 2 touchdowns. It's 4th and 2 from the 28, and they went for it, and the play worked.
Yeah, he just has to catch it,
and the ball was dropped. But yeah, next drive, you have that ridiculous Ayuk play, and then Ayuk scores a touchdown, and then eventually San Francisco goes up 27-24. Lions had the ball with 7:30 left, and it's at the 49ers 30. And they have a 4th and 3. They go for it again, and that play was not close to working.
What was that play again?
The horrible play. It was when he was trying to throw to Amon-Ra, and it was like 10 yards short. I think he was under pressure.
Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, so they were on the 30-yard line there. Could have kicked a field goal. That would have put them up what? 17?
I would have tied it.
Oh, would have tied it.
Oh, the first one, yeah. They would have been up 17 with 7 minutes in the third.
Oh man. These are like,
and it's also not a guarantee that he makes it.
No,
it's the money badger.
I was gonna say the money badger was their kicker. He wasn't. They clearly didn't trust him, or else they would have gone for it on one of these.
Yeah.
I saw some of his like stats for like from 50 yards. He's not very good. Like there's ways to justify his decisions. But the one egregious one was not to tie the game, to be down by 3 in the 4th. They're on the 3rd and goal, and they have 3 timeouts left, and they run the ball. They have to waste a timeout. They then get the touchdown on 4th down to ruin our cover.
Yep.
I was so mad at that whole play, like that whole thing, because the announcers are saying like, they really shouldn't run the ball here. Like they have these 3 timeouts they got to save. Basically, you got an onside kick if you run the ball here, and that's 4% chance of happening.
Yeah. And
they get it in the next play. They have to waste a timeout, and then the game's over. They weren't going to get the onside kick, and Niners get the ball back, kneel it out, it's over. I was so mad.
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous.
So I see some like defenses. Some people were like, "Well, everyone thinks you're going to pass there, so running, would actually not if you get stuffed.
You're going to pass because you have to pass.
Yeah, and not if you get stuffed, man. That decision, you say that afterwards when the play's successful. You don't say that before the play or after the play that's unsuccessful and gets stuffed at the 1-yard line. It was so sickening. So sickening. Just seeing their chances fumble away in my eyes. Yeah. Great win by the Niners. They're resilient. You gotta give Purdy some credit. There hasn't been a lot of
he played a great second half.
But he recovered, was able to, like, just the fact that he was down like that this whole team was down by this much and was able to keep their head straight, keep the game plan going, and
But
completely
I feel
opposite
like
of what the
that
Ravens
only
did.
was like the Lions let that happen, right? Like it was a great comeback, but like the Lions let them get back into this game. And like once you get one thing going right, then it's easy to like
Yeah,
get momentum up.
yeah, that's true.
Like the first drive of the half, they got stopped and they got held to a field goal.
Yeah, but
They
the
weren't
difference
able,
is,
and Purdy wasn't good on that drive.
but the difference is, the Lions let them come back in and gave them the momentum, but they were able to harness the momentum and use it to their abilities. Unlike the Ravens, who you
Yes,
can
that's true.
say that fourth down stop in the first half, stop the Chiefs, get the ball back. Like if you're the Niners there in the Super Bowl and you stop the Chiefs, you go and you score a touchdown.
Mhm.
And I think that team's able to get it. Like I don't know. Maybe it's the. I mean, and it does help that he has Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel and Ayuk and Kittle and even freaking Juszczyk was wide open on half these plays, is what you said. And they have all these weapons, so it's easier to be confident in your weapons. But
Mhm.
the confidence was the key, and the Ravens had zero confidence in that whole
I mean, maybe if they just like slow down for a second and like an ISO,
game. Maybe like thought about a
like
couple of their play calls.
once.
Oh man.
um, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's true. Like, I guess they do get. I shouldn't like give no credit to the 49ers. They just won the NFC, so credit where credit is due. But this is another situation where I just felt like the Lions lost this game more than the Niners won it, and it's because like when you're the worst team, and I think there's a pretty big gap between these two teams, just like talent wise, that like you almost had to play a perfect game to win, and you did in the first half. Like you had them on the ropes. Like 17 points is a lot of points.
Yeah.
To still have a whole half of football left where like you can build on that lead, and like you only need a couple stops on defense to win that game, and they didn't get one. Not one.
No, not one.
Holding them to a field goal was big. That's how they came. Like the Niners, the first couple plays, it looked like they were going to go down and score, and the game was going to change. And then they stopped them and had a chance to get those points right back. The fumble is the killer, I think. Like that was the dagger.
Yeah, that Jameer Gibbs fumble was
Because the other
really the
stuff,
worst,
like
and
going
especially
for it, it's if it worked, if the going for it worked, like Dan Campbell's the greatest coach in the world, and he's got huge nuts, and this is why they're in the Super Bowl now. But because it doesn't work, then he's the worst coach in the world, and he's a moron and a meathead. But like, you can't fumble first play after giving up a touchdown in a championship game.
yeah, and that really hurt them too because Jameer Gibbs has been so good for them this year and has been so reliable for them this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that you can't have that happen in an NFC Championship game.
Oh, it sucks for them.
Yeah, and I felt
Bummer.
bad for the Lions and for Dan Campbell. He said to the team afterwards, like he was like, how hard this is going to be next year. Like we might not be in this same scenario. Kind of loser talk. Come on now.
Why did he say that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw that quote. I was like, what?
Yeah, that was weird.
It's true.
It
It's
is true
hard.
though. Yeah, it is true.
It's very hard.
But they like it's funny if anyone's positioned to be back here, it's the team that had the best three draft classes in the past 3 years, and the team who's been doing everything correctly. So I think Dan Campbell's giving him a little less credit than he deserves. Of course, it's going to be hard, but uh, they should be next to the Niners come next year in talking about NFC favorites.
Yeah. They gotta do something on defense.
Yeah, yeah, they need to get some playmakers on defense besides Hutchinson. All right, our parlays did. If we parlayed it, you didn't get anything, but we went 3 for 4, 3 for 5 technically on the Chiefs parlay. The only thing we didn't get was Isaiah Likely receiving yards.
Oh, that was the only one that didn't Mahomes rushing yards hit.
Oh, did it hit? Oh, wait, you might be right. I don't know if Mahomes rushed.
I don't remember, but I
No,
remember
no,
I
you're
know
right.
MVS hit because I was worried about that one.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We went 2 for 4. Well, 2 for 5.
You
We had
include the spread,
yeah. If
three
you
for
include the
five.
spread, we went 2 for 5. The MVS one was so scary because his first catch was like 7 yards, and I was like, oh, he's not getting
I know.
another one.
It's like he's probably not getting
No,
the
I was
ball
like, yeah,
again.
it's due. And I remember I
It is
cheered when
funny
he
that he
caught
was
it.
the dagger.
Yeah, he was a dagger. He sealed it. Um, I the those are the best lines to root for. The guys who get like 1 or 2 catches. It's
That was our
so
whole
frustrating.
parlay.
I know it's so
It's like likely
frustrating.
20 yards,
Yeah,
Mahomes 20 yards. The Zay Flowers touchdown was pretty quick. I was like, all right, like we got to start on this thing.
yeah, I know. And then it went a little downhill from there. The next one we got golf passing. Got golf passing. We got Laporta. Yeah, we got Laporta easily.
The other legs, I don't even.
Didn't get Josh Reynolds. Didn't get the Niners to score a touchdown in the first drive.
That's right.
Hutchinson didn't get a sack, I don't think. Yeah, Hutchinson didn't get a sack, and I don't think Bosa got a sack either.
Yeesh.
Oh, no, Bosa got 2. So we had 1. So what we go? 1, 2, 3. 3 for 5 on that one. And if you include the spread in the parlay, 3 for 6.
Okay. Well,
That's not terrible.
that's +1 on the day then.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And that spread, that's so garbage.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I was like, first they're gonna blow it. Like I was fine if they were just gonna win. That's
I
fine
was
with
too.
me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's gonna be perfectly fine for me. But then they had to freaking blow it and then still cover. Like the Niners were up 10 at the end, and I was like, yes, like this is actually perfect scenario. Like let's go. And of course they drive right down.
I know.
All right, Niners Chiefs. We have 2 weeks to do this. We're not even gonna. Let's not even sniff it right now.
We'll have a whole props episode too.
Yeah, we'll have a whole props
Don't even
episode.
talk about the game. Like
Yeah,
about
just the props.
all
That's
the props that we
one of my
got.
favorite episodes.
Gatorade color,
Oh yeah,
national anthem,
halftime
that fun
performance.
stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the best episodes of the year, honestly.
It is, yeah.
So we'll get that the Friday before the Super Bowl, and then Tuesday, I guess before the Super Bowl, we'll talk. Oh, I guess Wednesday, we'll do the. Oh no,
Yeah.
we'll have
The actual game.
I was thinking that was next week. We have a whole week until this is next. It's Pro Bowl week, right? Media week.
This week is Pro Bowl week.
Yeah.
So Friday, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. There'll be stuff to talk about. Speaking of Pro Bowl, not that anyone needs to know that it's so downhill because everyone knows that, but Gardner Minshew just got in the Pro Bowl today. To replace
He had a
Mahomes.
good season. I think he earned that. I mean, for what they were supposed to be, and for Richardson going down, like he had a good season.
Sure.
I don't know if his numbers will reflect that.
No, his numbers definitely don't respect that. Win-loss wise, yeah, I would say his numbers definitely don't reflect it. I don't know. It's just like
Yeah.
we're really not going to get. We're going to get a backup every year to be a Pro Bowler. Like last year's like Huntley.
Yes.
Like these are backup quarterbacks, guys. How are these Pro Bowlers?
Mac Jones is in it.
Mac Jones, yeah. Mac Jones was in it with Lawrence and Mitch Trubisky, I believe.
Mitch?
Maybe Mitch was the year before. I don't know, but Mitch has made it.
No, yeah, I think. Yeah. Watch a Mitch Trubisky QB skills challenge.
Oh, it's
Just,
so
do that, and
funny.
it's one of the funniest things
It's
ever.
so funny. All right, let's move on to coaching wise in the NFL. The Washington dream of a Super Bowl is over already. Ben Johnson is returning to
Dramatic.
the Lions as their offensive coordinator. Apparently, the teams in running were too worried about his price, but he's returning to the Lions.
Yeah, I mean it's a bummer because that's who we all thought that we were gonna get, but I'm fine with pretty much anyone else. Like I'm not heartbroken about this, and now I just want to know who it's gonna be. Like I want the suspense to be gone. It's been a long time not having a head coach.
Yeah, I
So
think
like
it's
the
like
odds were so heavily in favor of Johnson, and that's where like it was a lock. And then all of a sudden Schefter comes on yesterday, and he's like, "Ah, like it might not be a lock." We're like, "Whatever, Schefter." And then turns out today he's going back. So I don't know what happened. It's really strange because apparently they were on the plane to Detroit. They're interviewing him and Aaron Glenn, and they found out on the plane that
he's
he was
gonna
going to
stay.
go back. So I thought that was strange.
From what I saw, it seemed like the teams pulled out on him, but he put like like the information makes it sound like that he was asking too much money, but then he also told the teams that he's pulling out. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Were the
don't
teams out on
like
him or were they out was he out on them?
the one theory is that he said that because he doesn't want it to come out that they are not going to offer him a job. Like he was the first one to say it that he's going back. But like it could also be that he actually just wants to go back
Yeah.
and like he doesn't want to be a head coach yet and he'd rather stay in Detroit where
I mean, he's only 37 years old.
he
He's got
knows
plenty of time to be a head coach.
yeah, he knows who his quarterback's going to be and
He knows the
he knows
system
he
they're
has a
going to
good
run.
roster.
Yeah, he knows the roster. He knows that they need like
Yeah.
one more
So
wide receiver.
maybe he doesn't want a rookie quarterback,
Yeah.
which is like that's the appeal in Washington is that you get to select your own quarterback, but you might not want that. So it's like it's very possible that he just decided that he wanted to come back. The timing of it is weird though. That like they were literally coming there. Like he didn't even give him an interview again.
So now, where do you, like you there is there a couple candidates that the Commanders have lined up to be next for the interview?
Yeah, so
Is Belichick on the table?
they've interviewed no. They've interviewed Dan Quinn a couple times.
Ugh, three too many.
Mike yeah, Mike McDonald, the Ravens defensive coordinator,
I like that.
Anthony Weaver, who's the Ravens D line and assistant head coach, Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator, and there's one that I'm forgetting. I think there's five.
Yeah, those seem like the main guys though.
Forgetting.
So, do you want like do you have any preference? Do you have any care? You just want a guy in the building. That's not Dan or that's
Not Dan Quinn.
yeah, I was gonna say that's not Dan.
Yeah, you don't want Dan Quinn. I think Anthony Weaver would be cool. He just seems like he's got some swagger to him, and he's like a Dan Campbell type. Who's like the assistant head coach, and he's just does a position group, and he's just like, remember how last time we were talking about dudes,
Yeah, he looks like a
guys
dude.
that aren't necessarily like on like a genius on one side
He's
of the ball.
jacked.
Yeah, right. And he wears
Yeah,
the aviators.
Yeah, those are sick.
Yeah, he looks cool. So that's like literally just eye test. I like him. Mike McDonald apparently is the Sean McVay of defense, so I would be all in on that too. Slowick he's really young, and he's only been a coordinator for 1 year, but I don't know, like he worked well with Stroud, so maybe he's just
I
that
would like to
guy.
see
But
I would like to see you guys get Mike McDonald because I want to see it seems like there hasn't been a good young defensive minded coach that's been a successful head coach in a couple of years. And maybe that's something.
that's why you want to see
No,
Mike
well, no,
McDonald.
and I was thinking like this, like if he's really the Sean McVay of defense, then if
Mhm.
this guy's not going to be a good head coach, then maybe this just like puts a nail on all defensive coordinators
Yeah, right.
to take it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone assumed that they would go offense.
It would just be interesting
they
to see
haven't.
another defensive guy get out there and see if it works out for the NFL.
Mhm. Well, like who were
Well, Anthony Reaver's defense too,
Rabel's
right?
defense?
Rabel's
Yeah, he's defense. As is Aaron Glenn is the other guy, but like their defense wasn't that good.
Aaron Glenn, defense
I don't know,
coordinator
like
for who?
what Alliance.
Oh yeah, no, you don't want that guy.
Yeah, I wish that we could retroactively get Raheem Morris. That's kind of who I like.
Yeah, after we talked on the pod, I'm all in on Morris.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. Like we'll see. I trust them to make the right call, and I care more about the GM than the head coach. We have the GM.
Yeah, and it's like you're in a better position than the Pats are because they don't even have a GM still. So at least you have a GM who probably has a plan in mind. I don't know what the Pats
I hope so. Plan involves a head coach though, and they don't have one. So it's a little bothersome that like they waited this long because presumably they wanted Ben Johnson, and now you're left with less people. But like, there's no one who's already been hired that like, other than Morris, that I really would have wanted. Like I guess Harbaugh, but I don't think that like the fit just wasn't right there. So like I'd be just as excited about McDonald as I would have been with Morris, I think. I think the Seahawks might hire him though.
McDonald.
Yeah.
They seem more realistic for a Dan.
I don't know
Quinn
what's
spot.
more appealing for him. You would think that.
Because like he was from
But
there.
that was another thing that Schefter
Pete-
kind of called BS on.
Yeah, like Pete is going to be in apparently the front office. Unite them. I don't know, but I guess we'll see what happens in Washington. It'll be exciting. Maybe that could be a Friday discussion.
I need a coach by the
By the what?
go crazy. The end of the week.
Yeah, we need one by Friday.
Week without a coach.
Yeah, and definitely by the Pro Bowl at least. By Sunday, yes, definitely need a coach. All right, let's go on to NBA All-Star selections. They selected the starters of the All-Star game. Not everyone, right? Just the starters.
Oh, I thought I saw the reserves.
The reserves will be announced on Thursday on TNT. So it looks like
This Thursday?
Yeah, so it looks like that'll be this Thursday.
Oh.
Starters.
I must have just seen like projected.
Like who's in contention for it?
Yeah.
So the Eastern Conference All-Star starters. We have Giannis as the captain, Embiid, Tatum, Halliburton, Damian Lillard. And then the Western Conference starters, we have LeBron James as the captain, Kevin Durant, Jokic, Luka, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is there anyone that you don't think deserve to be on there?
That I don't think should be on there?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, it seems like pretty chalk, right? Like it's the guys that we always see.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad Halliburton made it. That was definitely deserved. I know. Are there any snubs?
I don't know. I'm looking at some of these, like some people commented on a Twitter post. A lot of coming from Jalen Brunson instead of that Damian Lillard spot.
I just saw that.
I could see that as being a snub. But the one that surprises me, and it's only because it's LeBron James, but it's LeBron James. Like if anyone who should be in there shouldn't be a starter, should be LeBron. And that's not just because it's not because he's having a terrible season. It's because he's having just he's having a below average season, and I feel like Anthony Davis is really the selling point of that team, really the high point of that team, and has been playing better. So I could have seen that going to someone else, but when LeBron is in the league, I feel like he's going to be a captain for the All-Star team every single year. So
yeah, I mean he's still he's averaging 25, 7, and 7.
Yeah, so it's like you could still argue for it. And there's still definitely a great appeal in adding LeBron James as your all-star captain. I do want to see like Dame compared to some of these other guys. Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, Brunson definitely could have made it over him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks have gotten hot recently too.
Yeah, it seems like though, like, what about Kevin Durant? He had just a name too. Like he's having a fine season, right? But he's not having.
Wait, is Curry? Did you say Curry?
I didn't say Curry, but I saw some people say Curry. I could see why Curry is not an all-star starter.
Wait, name the West again. I don't have it pulled up. It's
LeBron, KD, Jokic, Luka, Shea.
okay. Yeah, I wouldn't put. Yeah, that's fair.
Funny,
Who's the guard?
Kevin Durant is having
Like Shea's over 30 points.
I think it's because
which is higher than Curry.
The Suns are kind of in a downward spiral, but I didn't know Kevin Durant was averaging 28.3 points a game off 50% shooting.
Yeah,
that guy's
he's like not gonna slow down. Feels like ever.
Let's see Kawhi's stats compared to him. Yeah, Kawhi. No, he beats Kawhi. That's why. I think he definitely deserves it. I mean, there's not. It's hard to. You got to really nitpick if you want one of these guys out of here. All these guys are having a really good season. The Brunson thing is definitely the most. Like, if you're gonna argue, and really heavily argue for one of them, it should be Brunson. Especially because like the Bucks are gonna have 2 All-Star starters, and they just had their coach fired, and they're the second. Like, I know they're the second best team in the Eastern Conference. Do they really deserve 2 starters? I don't know. I guess so. I feel like when you're looking at the All-Stars though, like you really got to be fantastic to have 2 starters, and give some shout out to other teams in the league here. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
But
it's like it's fan voting, right?
50%. 50% is fan voting.
50% fan voting.
is NBA, or 25% is NBA players, and then 25% is media analysts.
Okay, and then the rest is fan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's great players that are left off this list, but they'll still be in the All-Star game.
Oh yeah, and with all the injuries and stuff, there'll be a couple guys that make it that we don't even expect. Yeah, when you look at player ranks, they had Tyrese Halliburton at 1. Media ranks Tyrese Halliburton at 1.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton was 1 across the board for best guard in the East. What's interesting to me is
for best guard in the East.
Yeah, best guard in the East. What's interesting to me is Brunson was ranked 3 by the players, 5 by the fans, and 2 by the media. And Lillard was they tied on average score. So it was like I don't what's the weight there, you know? Like how do they determine who goes? Was it a coin flip?
I read that fan voting was the tiebreaker.
Then that would make sense. That would make sense here on this All right. Any guys that like? Nah, I mean Donovan Mitchell doesn't. Even Derek White, as much as I love him.
He was another name that jumped out. But I wouldn't put him for anyone else. I don't think.
It was interesting. I think it's interesting that the media rankings for Steph Curry was his lowest.
Really?
Yeah. So it must the reporters are seeing past his big highlight season. But
yeah.
Oh well.
I mean, they're not having a good year, which affects it.
Oh yeah. No, they're just if they were having a better year, he'd be up there. Okay. Anything else with the NBA really? I mean, we talked about it a lot on Friday. We kind of went over some things, especially with your. There hasn't really been that much of an update. So.
Wizards have won 2 in a row.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time
this year.
Yeah, first time in a long time.
Who they beat?
The Spurs twice.
The Spurs and the Pistons.
Nice. Hey, that's you guys were losing.
Both on the road.
Yeah, back-to-back road wins.
Well, revenge games. I will be in the building tomorrow to see the Clippers game. Oh, I'm sure that'll be a biter.
Where are you sitting?
Nosebleeds.
Tickets were $12.
Nice. Good to see. Hey, that's $12 to see Harden, Kawhi, Paul
Exactly.
George, Russell
And Russ.
Westbrook. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. I hope they keep it close. That'd be a great game.
Sure, they will not.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't either.
I already saw the line, and they're 13-point underdogs at home.
Oh my god.
Pretty bad.
All right. Well, what else we got? Right? What about Maryland? They play any games that we haven't talked about?
We won on Saturday against Nebraska.
Nice.
Shot like 40% from 3.
Nice.
Amy Kaiser had 4 threes. Jahari Long had 3.
God, Kaiser.
It was pretty shocking. Hopefully that's something that they can build on, and it wasn't just like an outlier. But they have an outside shot at getting back in the tournament. I think they're going to have to go like 7-3 the rest of the way, which is possible. Possible. Conference is not that good. And they're only, like, they play at Wisconsin, which is their only ranked road game. And they get Illinois at home, which is their only other ranked game. So, we got Michigan State Saturday at Michigan State. They win that, then, like, they're in decent shape. If they lose, then they have a lot of work to do. But
they're right back in there.
yeah, no games this week. Long wait for Saturday, but I had their best game of the year by far. Last Saturday.
Love to hear it. Love to hear that my guy Kaiser's hitting.
Yeah. And we passed South Carolina and Kentucky.
Dude, this KenPom crap is ridiculous. We have like 8 more wins ranked above us.
I think it's only 4 more.
Is it?
Yeah. We're 13-7.
Yeah, okay.
13-8.
13-8.
You guys are 17-3.
Yeah. All right, but still, that's still ridiculous. I don't know what the hell.
All about efficiency.
The Gamecocks, after a great week, we talked about the Kentucky game. Played Mizzou on Saturday. It was a huge letdown spot. Huge at home.
That was a huge letdown spot.
And it's a classic South Carolina staple to lose this game. Like, even no matter what the sport, besides women's basketball, of course. And they won. So they took care of business against Mizzou. They beat them pretty handily. It came close in the third, or I always say the third, but it's like the first half of the second half. But then they took care of business. They won the game. What was most impressive, they won the game with Michi Johnson scoring 0. He went 0 for 9 against Mizzou and still ended up being +8 in the plus-minus. So doing some other stuff, got some stuff when you can't get the shot down. I love it.
Yeah, good for him.
Big game tonight, 6:30 in an hour at Tennessee. They're -14 underdogs. I've bet on their money line.
A lot of points.
I don't have any. Yeah, I think that spread's ridiculous. I don't know what the expectations are. I'm not, of course, going to expect us to beat another top 5 team in the conference. I just hope it's competitive. I hope it doesn't end up like Bama, where it's competitive first half and blown out in the second half. Even though I did say I didn't mind that loss, but hopefully they keep competitive. Hopefully they keep it close and prove to everyone that we do deserve to be ranked. I know we're literally ranked 26th in the AP Power Poll.
Saw that.
I like it though. Let the people sleep. The second we have a number next to
it means nothing.
Well, yeah, but it does. Like, the second we have a number next to our name, people are out to get us. So,
yeah,
let's stay as the team who is slept on. I don't mind being 26 is perfect to me. Let's get everyone sleeping.
I like that mindset.
Yeah. So hopefully they take care of business tonight. And
need to keep it close.
Yeah, that's really it. Got to keep it close. Got to keep it competitive. Huge test though, and Tennessee is under some flack today. They've been investigated for a number of sports in their NIL dealings. Apparently, there's been some shady stuff going on, but
That's a shocker.
yeah, right. I don't know what the details are. I don't know what is going to come up of it. But of course, right before South Carolina has to play a big school, they have to get in a scandal. So great. Let's have all their guys fired up for this game. That's exactly what I want. But yeah, I can see the headlines already. Tennessee, after a day of scandals, rushed past the South Carolina Gamecocks in basketball.
Nah, it'll be all right.
They faced adversity as they cheated.
Yeah, just the new Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. They faced adversity as they cheated in multiple sports. All right. I think that does it then. Did we cover everything?
Yeah, this was a quick one.
Yeah, it was a quick one. I mean, we think it's quick. It's still on it.
And we got 2 football games.
Yeah, that's true. We still made it an hour though, so we're right there.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you all for listening. We got to figure out a gimmick for Friday. Figure out something fun for the audience. We'll be on that this week. We'll see everyone on Friday at 5. I don't see that changing. So it should be Friday at 5. And enjoy your week.